Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Your Chana Prabhu. Do you want to play the kartals? Thank you so much. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare. Jai Om Viṣṇu Paramahamsa Parivadikacharya Ashtotra Shat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Viṣṇu Paramahamsa Parivadikacharya Ashtotra Shat Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shekha Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, chapter number 9, text 34. Please repeat after me. Tat Sambhavaha Kavir Ato Yat Apashyamanas Tvam Bijam Atmani Tatam Sa Bahir Vichintya Navindat Abda Shatam Apsu Nimajamana Jate Kure Katham Uhopalabhyata Bijam Tatsambhava Kavirato Nyatapashyamanas Tvam Bijam Atmani Tatam Sabahir Vichintya Navindatavta Shatamapsu Nimajamano Jaten Kure Katam Hopalabeta Bijam Tatsambhava Kaviratonya Tapashyamanas Tvam Bijam Atmani Tatam Sabahir Vichintya Navindatabda Shatamapsu Nimanjamano Jaten Kure Katam Hopalabeta Bijam Tat sambhava kaviratonya tapashyamanas Tvam bijam atmani tatam sabahir vicintyam Na vindatadashatam apsunimajamano Jaten kure katam hopola beta bijam. Please chant. Yeah. Sambhava kaviratonya tapashyamanas Viratonja apasyamanas Navinda abdashatmapsanimajam Jaten kurikata bijam. Sambhava kaviratonya tapashyamanas Tvam bijam atmani tatam sabahir vichintya Navinda raptashatam apsunimajamano Anyone online? Not this time. Okay, word.
Tat sambhava kavir atonyat apashyamanas Tvam bijam atmani tatam sa pahir vichintya Navindat abdashatam apsu ni majamano Jaten kuru katam uho palabeta bijam.
Jaten kuru katam palabeta bijam. So word-to-word translation. Tatsambhava, who was generated from the lotus flower. Kavihi, he who can understand the subtle cause of creation. Lord Brahma. Ataha, from that lotus. Anyat, anything else. Apashyamana, not able to see. Tvam, your lordship. Bijam, the cause of the lotus. Atmani, in himself. Tatam, expanded. Saha, he, Lord Brahma. Bahi vichintya, considering to be external. Na, not. Avindat, understood. You. Abdashatam, 400 years according to the demigods. And 1 day for demigods equals 6 of our months. Apsu, in the water. Nimajamanaha, diving. Jatyan kure, when the seed fructifies and is manifested as a creeper. Katham, how? Uha, O my Lord. Upalabhita, one can perceive. Bijam, the seed that has already fructified. Translation. From the great lotus flower, Brahma was generated, but Brahma certainly could see nothing but the lotus. Therefore, thinking you to be outside, Lord Brahma dove into the water and attempted to find the source of the lotus for 100 years. He could find no trace of you. However, for when a seed fructifies, the original seed cannot be seen. Purport. This is the description of the cosmic manifestation. The development of the cosmic manifestation is like the fructification of a seed. When cotton is transformed into thread, the cotton is no longer visible. And when the thread is woven into cloth, the thread is no longer visible. Similarly, it is perfectly correct that when the seed that had generated from the navel of Garbhakashaya Viṣṇu became manifested as the cosmic creation, one could no longer understand where the cause of the cosmic manifestation is. Modern scientists have tried to explain the origin of creation by a chunk theory, but no one can explain how such a chunk might have burst. The Vedic literature, however, explains clearly that the total material energy was agitated by the three modes of material nature because of the glance of the Supreme Lord. In other words, in terms of the chunk theory, the bursting of the chunk was caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus one must accept the Supreme Cause, Lord Viṣṇu, as the cause of all causes. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha Kalpadrubhisha Kripa Sindhaveva Chavatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Viṣṇu Paraya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvichesha Shunyavadi Pashtete Desha Tarine. Hare Krishna, everyone. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his bhajans sings, it's a famous bhajan, Jiv Jaga Gorachanta Bole, Kota Nidra Jaya Maya Pishichira Kole. And he's saying that this is the call of Lord Gauranga. And Lord Gauranga is saying, wake up, conditioned souls, wake up. How long are you going to be sitting in the lap of Maya? And Maya is called a witch. And so similarly, this text is dealing also with the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, illusory energy, or Maya. And it's mentioning here that even Lord Brahma has to deal with this energy. And it's not easy. Lord Brahma had to find a way to realize and connect with the Supreme Personality of God, understand Him for so many years. It's described that Lord Brahma, when he appeared from when he dove inside the water, he attempted to find a source of all causes, but he couldn't do it. He had to look for it for 100 years. So similarly, all living entities, they also experience the same thing. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter, Maya tatamadam sarvam jagata vyakta murtana matstani sarva bhutani nachaham teshavastita. By me in my manifested form, the entire universe is pervaded, and all beings are in me, but I'm not in them. So this material energy is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maya Dakshana Prakriti. Suritesa Characharam. So Krishna is in control, and for us to find Krishna, to find the cause of this this world, the spiritual material world, is very difficult. Just like in this example, in this text, it's mentioning that the development of the cosmic manifestation is like the fructification of a seed. So when the cotton is transformed into thread, you cannot see the cotton any longer. So similarly, when the thread is woven into the cloth, you can also see the thread. And for us to see the cause of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is impossible with our material senses. Dharmasetta Prabhu was mentioning that we need to have appropriate senses. We need to purify them before we'll be able to see and understand anything transcendental nature. So that's the first point of this text is that we need to engage in the austerity in order to get purified and be able to be qualified to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that austerity is recommended as the most important practice in our spiritual life. Tapo divim putrakayana sattvam shudyatya smadbrahmasakyam tvanantam. This is Lord Rishabhadev is saying to his sons, that just by austerity we can purify the heart and we can truly be situated in transcendental happiness. And then Srila Prabhupada gave a class on this text in 1976 in Mayapur. And he was also making a similar point that Lord Krishna, he is within the universe and is also within your heart, within our hearts. So he's within and he's without. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he is situated in the heart, Krishna says, is Ishvara Sarabhutanam Hridesha Arjuna Tishtati, is directing our activities. There's an example of Mother Kunti Devi. She was seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face directly. It is described. But then she was also realizing that he's situated in her heart. And how to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead within our heart is described in Brahma Samhita. It is mentioned that just by prema, we can only see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by prema, by love, by devotion. That is the way to be qualified to see him. Primanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanana. And Krishna has a right not to show himself, not to reveal himself to us. So we can do everything right and we can aspire to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead and practice our devotional service. But eventually it's up to Krishna to reveal himself to us. He has to agree. Bhagavad Gita is also mentioned that by bhakti mama vijanati yavanyascha smitattvataha. This is the way to see Krishna, by devotional service. Another point brought up in the text here is that sometimes materialistic people, they tend to speculate about the cause of all causes and how this cosmic creation is manifested. It says, modern scientists, they've tried to explain the origin of creation by a chunk theory, but no one can explain how such a chunk might have burst. So even if we accept the fact that this is a chunk theory, that the burst came out and this is how the cosmic manifestation is manifested, then logically we see that someone has to spark the burst and start that burst. And of course this is the higher intelligence, this is Krishna. Even in their theory there's a big hole, there's a illogical kind of preposition. So the Vedic literature explained clearly that the total material energy was agitated by the three modes of material nature because of the glance of the Supreme Lord. In other words, in terms of the chunk theory, the bursting of the chunk was caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, we accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachitananda Vigraha. We cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by our unlimited material senses. There's a text in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that says, Atashi Krishna Namadi, Nabhavet Graham Indriya, Sevan Mukhi Jivado, Swayam Evas Pratyadaha. Only if we engaged in pure devotional service under proper guidance we'll be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so Lord Brahma, he was undergoing severe austerity for 100 years. He couldn't find the cause of all causes. And then there's this sound that he heard, tapa, tapa. If you put that sound together, it means to heat up. So meditating on tapa, participating in austerity, it means to heat up our consciousness and make it spiritualized. Because material nature is dull, the body and mind. We need to put that body, that mind in tapasya. And tapasya means that we remain free from sense gratification and undergo necessary principles of devotional services to get purified. And it's a voluntary acceptance. In the beginning it might be very difficult, but in the end it reaps great result for us, purification, and ultimately it can lead to a higher state of consciousness. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, if we look at the examples of Srimad Bhagavatam, we see that what can help us become free from the clutches of illusion and limited knowledge, because ultimately we have to, in this material body, we have to accept suffering, and we have to accept the changes that are taking place in this, within our very body and in this world. We are not in control of what's going to happen to us. So there's a great example of the sages of Naimisharanya who gathered together to ask questions to the Sutta Goswami. And one of the first questions they were asking is, what is the ultimate good for all people? And what is the essence of all scripture? So in the second chapter of the first canto, it is explained that the ultimate good is parodharma. Savaipam samparodharmo yato bhakti radokshaje ahaitike pratihata yayatma suprasidati. That is the ultimate good for all people, is to engage in our occupational activities as the jivatma, as the soul, as being subordinate in our position to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the result would be that we'll develop jnana and vairagya. And by devotional service, we develop jnana and vairagya. And we need vairagya to be to stop this attraction for material pleasures and to engage our senses in something higher than just material activities. So detachment from material activities is also illustrated in many examples throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. One of which is in 11th canto, there's this story of Pingala. She was a prostitute, and one day she was dressed very nicely in very attractive clothing, and she put different ornaments. She was expecting someone, a customer, and from sunset until midnight she was sitting and waiting for someone to come, meditating on who's going to come and who's going to enjoy with me. And she waited in great anticipation. But at the same time, she was anticipating, but the longer she waited, the more she became uneasy and agitated in the mind. So that's one way to become renounced from material activities, from worldly affairs, is to become completely tired of just waiting for happiness and for good things to come. So eventually no one came to see her, and she was disgusted by it. She became renounced. And she gave up this hankering for a customer. And eventually she said, or is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, that detachments, they act like a sword, cutting to pieces the binding network of material hopes and desires. So after all, she engaged herself in thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Hari. And she received the proper instruction that the hopes for sense gratification this is the cause of our suffering here. So only if we can fixate our mind on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we can really attain suprasiditi, the satisfaction we're looking for. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his bhajan, he sings that you have forgotten the way of devotional service, and you're lost in this world of birth and death. It's all because you don't understand that other than myself, there's no actual friend to you. And we know that this Maha Mantra is a great remedy, is a great medicine for us against the influence of Kali Yuga. But of course, we hardly see anyone willingly trying to accept and chant. Although the austerity in this age is quite simple. It's not that we have to undergo something severe, go into the mountains and meditate for a long time, or have to give up our family. No, we can stay in the family and utilize everything that we have for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us, Yukta Vairagya. I remember mentioning these points and this, talking to someone on book distribution just yesterday. And unfortunately, that person, she was, I guess, maybe experienced something not exactly pleasant with devotees in the past. But she mentioned something like, "You're not a Hare Krishna, are you? This philosophy is not, but you're not Hare Krishna, are you?" And I said, well, I'm a Hare Krishna monk. Yeah, that's right, I am a Hare Krishna monk. And then she was like, well, you have a reputation of trying to, kind of go after people and just knock on people's doors, come door to house to house, door to door. She's like maybe in her 40s, close to something, mid-40s, something like that. And then she, as soon as she found out that these books are related to Hare Krishna, because it looked like she was actually going to take a lot of books and give a really generous, nice donation. But as soon as she found out, she walked away and she didn't take any books. So that's unfortunate. Sometimes people just buy a little. Yes, it might be that the devotees go out on Sankirtan and they might be a little pushy because we don't want to we don't want people to suffer. We want them to really get a chance to get purified. So it might be that we insist a little bit sometimes because we don't want to just kind of offer and be humble and nice on book distribution. This is, at least it's my realization. It's not how it works. You have to really be kind of like a little pushy sometimes and make sure they really understand and get that opportunity to get purified, to get a chance to read Srila Prabhupada's books. Because ultimately we see that the time is kalasmi loka kasya krit pravarda, that the time destroys and ruins everything. Sometimes people also, they quote this verse from that movie. What's that movie called? Anyone knows? Oppenheimer. Yeah, Oppenheimer movies. So sometimes people, they see Bhagavad Gita and they quote, they remember this verse. In the same example of the story that I mentioned of Pingala, it is mentioned that when the living entity sees that the entire universe has been seized by the serpent of time, he becomes sober and sane, and at that time detaches himself from all material sense gratification. So yeah, sometimes just engaging in material affairs long enough leads us to that realization that I'm not finding anything here. I gotta do something to change my life. So similarly, on book distribution, we meet people who are willing to accept and take books, and who are willing to speak with us and reciprocate with us. And sometimes they don't even need to be convinced strongly. They easily accept Srila Prabhupada's books and feel very happy about the experience. So I'll conclude by mentioning a text in the Nectar of Devotion that can help us all to advance in spiritual activities. Utsaha nishtayat dharyat tat karma pravartanat sangatagatsata vriteya sadhir bhakti prasiddhyati. So there are principles, favorable principles to execute pure devotional service. First is being enthusiastic, and second is endeavoring with confidence, understanding that whatever we have in our lineage, whatever we've received from our teachers, is bona fide, is something authoritative and something that works. And then being patient, because we can't get the result right away. It requires a little patience. And then act according to the regulative principles, such as we all know, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Viṣṇu, Smaranam, Parisevanam. And Srila Prabhupada often mentions that among these principles of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Viṣṇu. The most important is Shravanam, hearing, constantly hearing. From the moment when we wake up, we should start immediately hear something. And then all day long, if there's an opportunity, if our services allow us, we should always hear. And after hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna, we should also abandon the association of non-devotees, because that could be contaminating on our consciousness. If we associate long enough with non-devotees, we can see that our attraction for Krishna will diminish. And the sixth principle is following the footsteps of the previous acharyas. We have so many great examples to follow, examples of our acharyas and examples of devotees who are here with us. So if we follow in the six principles, undoubtedly the success will be guaranteed, and we'll be able to rise on the platform of pure devotional service. And just like Lord Brahma, we sat down and meditated on this two words, tapa. Everything was revealed to him. So similarly, if we sat down and patiently meditate on scripture and the holy name of Krishna, if we take the holy name very seriously, then the holy name will also be able to help us very seriously. So I'll conclude here. It's about time. And see if you have any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the nice lecture. Are there any additional principles that you would add to those six?
Yeah. The six principles favorable. I mean, I can say this is enough. It's pretty much covered. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would say that take a lot of prasadam, especially in the beginning. That would be quite helpful. But then regulate. Yeah, utsahan. Yeah, but then you can regulate. I guess I can say that. Yeah, the six that are not helping. Yeah, avoid those. But I guess from my little experience, especially for brahmacharis, it's important to also take care of our diet and health and exercise and all these things, just to maintain the body for devotional service. Because if we want to be properly engaged in devotional, in the long term engaged in devotional service, we need to have a healthy body, healthy mind. Yeah, Grihastha. They are already doing it. Hare Krishna. So, and of course, taking the holy name very seriously, trying to really be very attentive in our chanting and hearing classes. That is very important. But it's mentioned in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Viṣṇu in this one. Anything else? Okay. Sankarshan.
Yes. I just had a question about in the purport. It said the total material energy was agitated by the three modes of material nature because the Lord glanced over it. So the Lord glances over the material nature. Why was it necessarily agitated? If he's all good and he's merciful, and he agitated these three modes of nature.
Well, that's so the Vedic literature, however, explains clearly that the total material energy was agitated by the three modes of material nature because of the glance of the Supreme Lord. So the modes of material nature, they work in such a way that they always spinning, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is looking, and he can also, like with the example of Lord Brahma, he didn't have to have Mother Saraswati to be there. Lord Vishnu didn't have to have that with him to impregnate Lord Brahma. So just by because he's called Swayambhu. He's self-existent. So he doesn't need to. He's the supreme. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't need to have. He can with his hands or with his glance he can accept. For instance, the offering that we have, bhoga that we offer to him. So he enacts the material creation by glancing over. And I guess my understanding of agitating this material energy was agitated because the three modes of material nature, it's not something very pleasant for the living entities, and by glancing over, the Supreme Lord enacts this material cosmic creation. I guess that's maybe my little limited understanding, but if anyone wants to add to this.
Well, what I understand is that the glancing, this is explained in the Brahma Samhita, the Sadashiva, that glance is, he's actually injecting the living entities in there. And then it's time for them to develop their bodies and everything. And if you read the third canto, the teachings of Kapila Dev, you realize that when, the false ego is transformed by the mode of passion, then the mind is developed. The intelligence is developed. The mode of goodness, the mind is developed. And then the mode of ignorance, all the senses are developed. So for the creation to take place, which is after all for the accommodation of the conditioned living entities, then those modes of nature have to be inherently involved in the whole process. The living entities are there, but where the body's going to come from, then it has to do with the modes of nature. If you read that third canto, I can point out the verses we described very distinctly how the false ego, in touch with the different modes of nature, produces the 24 elements that make up the raw material for the manifestation of the world and the bodies of the living entities. I think that's what's described here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the class. I want to add one comment for your question. How I understand, you ask why needed this agitation, or why agitation happened. I heard that souls has material desires, and when Mahavishnu, he see it, and this is like fruit ripen, and he sees that it's ready, and then he make glance on them, and then his creation starts.
Thank you, Richard. Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much for your kind attention. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.